Good evening and welcome to the final session titled Identity and Marginality in the Modern City. Tonight we bring together two films, Salim Langde Pe Mat Ro by Saeed Mirza and the Nagari short Ye Waqt Hamara Hai, that speak across 3 decades yet converge powerfully on questions that remain painfully urgent. Who belongs in the city? Who is pushed to its edges? And how do communities assert dignity, memory, and the hope amid systemic erasure? Released in 1989, Salim Langde Pe Mat Ro unfolds in the chawls and narrow lanes of working-class Bombay. Through the life of Salim Pasha, small-time hustler, charismatic drifter, and product of an indifferent urban order, Mirza examines how identity is shaped not only by personal choices, but by the invisible architectures of class, religion, and opportunity. The film refuses sensationalism. Instead, it offers a deep, humane portrait of a young man negotiating the pressures of communal tension, gentrification, police violence, and shrinking avenues of aspiration. Salim's story becomes a lens through which we witness a city turning harder, more fragmented, and increasingly hostile to those living in its margins. Paired with it is the Nagari film Ye Waqt Hamara Hai, a sharply observed documentary rooted in the present-day realities of Mumbai's informal settlements, focusing on youth activists and community organizers. The film captures a quieter but determined resistance, a collective insistence on invisibility, on claiming public space, and on rewriting narratives long dictated by others. It reveals how identity is not merely inherited, it is actively shaped through participation, mutual care, and the everyday labor of holding communities together. Where Salim Langde Pe Mat Ro exposes the systemic pressures that constrict lives, Ye Waqt Hamara Hai highlights the possibilities that emerge when residents organize, advocate, and imagine futures beyond displacement. Together, these films invite us to reflect on how the modern city produces marginality and how its citizens, in turn, challenge and reconfigure those boundaries. They remind us that identity in urban India is never static. It is a contested terrain shaped by politics, place, and the quiet courage of those who continue to claim their right to the city. Following the screenings, Saeed Mirza, director of Salim Langde Pe Mat Ro, will be in conversation with Aradhana Seth.
और उसके बाद एक जगह और मैं गया था, तो बोले ने तो सीधा ये कह दिया था कि हम गोवंडी के मोमिटन लोग को ये जॉब अलाउड नहीं, मतलब जॉब नहीं देते यहाँ पर, गोवंडी के मोमिटन्स को जॉब नहीं है। गोवंडी बोले तो ब्लैक लिस्टेड एरिया और ब्लैक लिस्टेड लोग,
तो हम लोग को शर्म भी आती है कभी गोवंडी माड़ा बोलने के लिए। रिक्शे वाला नहीं आता इधर,
उसको आज तक नहीं पता है कि मैं गोवंडी से आती थी।
पहले मैं चिताके में ट्रॉम्बे में रहती थी। 10 साल हो गया मैं इधर आके, शिफ्टिंग होके इधर आई मैं। कोई भी नहीं था, ये चारों गेट का ताला मैं मार के, चाबी मेरे पास, आदमी काम पे, सब डरते थे कैसा अकेली औरत रहती बोले। फिर बच्चे स्कूल चले जाते, जाके महिला मिलन में बैठ जाती। तो फिर एक दिन उन लोग का ऐसी आइडिया आ गया, क्यों भाभी तुम ये नाश्ता ही क्यों नहीं, तुम दुकान ही क्यों लगा लेते तो सही रहेगा तुम्हारे लिए। मैं बोली आपा मेरे पास मशीन वगैरह कुछ नहीं है। तो ठीक है, लेकिन लोन डाल के ले लेंगे, लोन देते ना महिला मिलन में। फिर दुकान चालू कर दी मैं। शुरुआत में 1-1.5 किलो डाली, 1.5 किलो में भी मेरे को 50-60 रुपया मिल गया। तो दूसरे दिन 1.5 किलो के जगह 2 किलो डालने लगी। 2 किलो करते 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 माशाल्लाह भी 10 किलो तक मेरा आटा चले जाता। अभी इतने गिराक जमा हो गए, लेकिन मेरे पास सही में बोलूँ ना कुछ भी नहीं था। घर पे सबको मालूम है, इधर आके मैं अपने मेहनत से आगे बढ़ी। मेरे बच्चों को पढ़ाई, 12वीं पढ़ने के टाइम पे रिश्तेदार लोग बोले लड़की जात को क्या पढ़ाने का तुम्हारे को, एक के घर को जाने वाली है, शादी करके जाना है उसको, अपन मुसलमान में इतना पढ़ाते क्या, बस करो। मैं बोली नहीं, मेरी बेटी पढ़ने में अव्वल है। आज 3 साल से जॉब करके मैंने जितना खर्चा नहीं करी उससे डबल कमा के दे दी मेरी।
जितने भी हम भाई बहन थे हमने सब ने उर्दू मीडियम से पढ़ाई की। और मेरे भाई बहन म्यूनसिपैलिटी से हम लोग पढ़े थे, तो म्यूनसिपैलिटी में उर्दू मीडियम थी उस वक्त। अरे ऐसा मजबूरी भी थी कि हम उर्दू मीडियम से पढ़े, रेंट भी देना था और पढ़ना भी था हम लोगों को। तो मम्मी ने फिर म्यूनसिपैलिटी में सोचा कि उस वक्त पैसे नहीं लगते थे और आज भी नहीं लगते हैं, क्योंकि दोपहर के खाने का जो रहता था वो स्कूल से हम लोगों को मिल जाता था। शाम का मम्मी सिलाई करके निकाल लेते थे। पीएचडी खुद के पैसे से करना चाहती हूँ, अब घर वालों के पैसे से नहीं पढ़ना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे भी लगता है कि शायद वो मेरी वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा दब रहे हैं अब। तो अगर मेरे घर वाले मेरे ऊपर ही इतना खर्चा करेंगे तो मेरे और भी भाई बहन हैं, वो भी पढ़ना चाहते हैं, शायद मैं उनसे उनका मौका छीन लूँ।
पूमा का एक आउटलेट था वाशी में, मॉल में। जब मैं गया और उससे बात की कि मतलब सर मेरे को जॉब चाहिए था, तो मैंने उसको बताया कि उसकी ग्रिप्स और जो उसके अंदर कपड़ा यूज़ होता है, जैसा स्वैद का हो गया, उसको मैंने बताया था। तो फिर उसने फाइनली मुझसे पूछा कि ठीक है तुम कहाँ रहते हो, तो उसने मुझे बोला गोवंडी। मैं बोला गोवंडी। तो उसका एक्सप्रेशन एकदम ऐसा हो गया कि वो मेरे से इतना अच्छे से बात कर रहा था, और एक वक्त को ऐसा लग गया कि मैंने उसके ऊपर इजाज़त छीन लिया।
देखो अपन मिडिल क्लास वाले बराबर, अपनी उतनी हैसियत नहीं है, तो मैं बाहर जाके इतना भाड़ा कैसा दे सकती, अपनी हैसियत नहीं है तो अपना खुद का रूम छोड़ के कोई क्यों जाएगा बोलो। अपने को अपना सेव करके रहना, वो हिसाब है इधर। अब जाऊंगी तो अभी लाइट बिल ही 3-4 हज़ार आ जाएगा बाहर, और रूम का भाड़ा है, और वहाँ क्या है ना महीने का पूरा भर के। यहाँ अपने मोहल्ले में कैसा है, तुम 100-200 रुपये में 2 दिन गुजारा कर सकते, वहाँ पर नहीं कर सकते। आधा किलो टमाटर ले लो या 1 किलो आटा तुमको छुट्टा मिल जाएगा, 1/4 किलो तेल ले लो छुट्टा मिल जाएगा, आप 2 वक्त की रोटी गुजारा करके सो सकते। गरीबी का यही सोच के यहाँ पर ज़्यादा लोग हैं।
खुदा ने हम सबको बनाया है, अगर हमसे चाहता नहीं वो ऐसा चीज़ हो तो हमारे दिमाग में डालता नहीं मेन बात। और उतना टैलेंट इंसान को दिया नहीं होता कि वो हवे में 360 रोटेट कर सके। जब उसने दिया है तो कोई वजह होगी। हमें ये नहीं कहता मेरा इस्लाम गलत है, लेकिन मेरा इस्लाम ये चीज़ को मना करता है, तो वो भी मैं एक्सेप्ट करता हूँ। पर मुझे पता है कि मेरा जॉब पे कुछ नहीं हो सकता, बट मैं डांस में कुछ कर सकता हूँ। मेरा सपना है जो रेड बुल BC1 है, जो अभी 2015 में हाल ही में शुरू हुआ है, और मैं चाहता हूँ उसका वन टाइम चैम्पियन बनना, इंडिया का नंबर 1 B-बॉय। वहाँ पर जीतने के बाद में वो लोग पूछते हैं कि तुम्हारी नीड क्या है, तुमको क्या चाहिए, कि तुम्हारे को किस चीज़ की प्रॉब्लम हो रही है। तो मैं उनसे डायरेक्ट यही कहूँगा कि मतलब मुझे एक हॉल चाहिए, और ना कि मेरे लिए। मैं चाहता हूँ जो गोवंडी में और भी B-बॉयज़ है, जो अभी ब्रेकिंग गोवंडी में फैल चुका है और अच्छे खासे B-बॉयज़ यहाँ पे भी हो गए, तो मैं चाहूँगा कि वो भी वो हॉल पे आके प्रैक्टिस करें।
We now move to the final discussion of the festival. We have Aradhana here, Aradhana Seth, and she's going to be in conversation with the director of Salim Langde Pe Matro, Saeed Mirza. Unfortunately, he is not joining us in person, but he is going to be streaming in online on Zoom. So we will be opening the floor up to questions if anyone wants to ask him anything. Um, a quick um, a quick little intro about both our discussants today. So Saeed is a celebrated Indian filmmaker, screenwriter and author, known for his socially relevant films like Arvind Desai ki Ajeeb Dastan, Albert Pinto ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai, and of course Salim Langde Pe Matro. We also have Aradhana Seth with us. She's a filmmaker, producer, visual artist and photographer. She has worked as a production designer on over 15 feature films and art directed The Darjeeling Limited, London Has Fallen and The Bone Supremacy. If we could have Aradhana join us on stage.
I first saw the film a long time ago when I was in film school, so it's kind of interesting to see it again. Or just out of film, yeah. It's interesting because you see the colors and the cinematography and all of them very differently these many years later.
That's true.
Where are you?
I'm here.
I can't see you.
Just a second.
Yeah, they have to connect up with me, I suppose. They've got to connect with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Hi, great to see
Hi.
the film again. I was curious what was happening. I was curious what was happening around you when you first made the film, socially, politically, personally.
Oh, at that particular point of time, you had the Mandal Commission report and the agitations against it, and then simultaneously the launching of the Rath Yatra, which is beginning in the 1984, 85, 86, around that time. And there was elections going to be held in Kashmir, and a little later that election was going to be rigged, and there was going to be ferment in the valley. The Naxal, no, it was a country in ferment in the north, specifically the north, and in that, the Yatra also started gaining momentum, the Rath Yatra, and it's at that moment of time that I decided to make the film. And by that time I started shooting it, the movement for the Yatra was gaining incredible momentum across the country, across North India. And that is when that is the political social milieu. And agitations, the occasional lynching, occasional murder here or there. And it's incredible that nobody seems to realize that people die. Not a matter of mass complaint initially, But people actually die on the street. They're picked up and singled out and murdered. So it's a strange thing, but that's why I decided to make the film.
And did you realize that it will be so relevant today? At that moment when you made it, did you realize that this will just continue and continue? It's very relevant today.
I didn't realize that it's going to be that relevant until the actual demolition of the mosque occurred a few years later. And then that's when I made Naseem, my last film, which was like a kind of an epitaph of an India which is over, and what you have left is perhaps hate. And we have a nation will have to live with it. And a changing time, a changing circumstance. And I guess that the idea of India, as I would envisage it, was over. Therefore, perhaps never to return. Perhaps never to return. In fact, at the beginning of Naseem, there's an entire quote where I say this. A time has passed, perhaps never to return.
And shifting, I noticed that there are a lot of people on the script, and during the credits, there are lots of people who worked on the script.
Right.
Can you share a little bit about that? Because it's so thoughtfully scripted, and how do you keep a character that's quite flawed but yet very sympathetic? How do you direct that? How do you keep the distance? How do you keep the closeness to it?
No, we had a lot of people on board with the script because I would go to those areas late at night and just be with the so-called underworld, meet up with them, try to imagine them, have conversation with them, and then I'd get back. I would also record the language that they used, which is very important for the film, you know. And then we would listen to it, and then there would be Ravi Oja, myself, there would be Kundan Shah, there would be a kind of collaborative effort at the level of the script. And you know, it's as I recall it now, that kind of research that I did helped me a lot in trying to understand what is it really all about. You know, what is the idea of ghettoization of the mind, ghettoization of a spirit, ghettoization of, I don't know, which I brought into the film towards the end when they're sitting at Marine Drive, and a little dance which occurs over there. And getting out of the gutters and then breathing a little bit of fresh air where the rich and the powerful stay. And it's like this dichotomy. It's incredible. Yeah, that's it basically. That's basically it.
What was the brief that you gave your cinematographer after doing the research and being in these many different Bombays? What was the brief that you gave your cinematographer?
Fundamentally, he's worked with me in all my films. He knows me, I know him. His name is Virendra Saini. And the point was, we decided to shoot, by and large, the film. We choose the monsoon time. We choose the monsoons primarily because, by and large, the sky is overcast. And when the sky is overcast, the primary colors resonate. And that's when we used. So that was basically it. So an overcast sky, which helps you get your primaries become real primaries, you know. And basically it is an overcast sky also brings a certain kind of a low level gloom into the image. So that was basically his instructions, and he followed it. Uske baad, you leave it to him. You leave it to him because we've been through a lot together. From Arvind Desai to Albert Pinto to Mohan Joshi to Salim Nagara, we've been through a lot together. And also simultaneously, he has seen as much of the city as I have because I have to take him around in all my films to see the city, feel it, And he was with me. So he understood really what I had in mind.
You feel actually that the primary colors have also gone into the costumes and the production design or art direction at that time.
And the art director, I must not forget him, Gautam Sen, my God.
Yes.
That man was with me in the nights over there, with me. My gosh, how can I forget him? And the thing is that the entire, just a lot of teamwork, togetherness, and they just trusted me, and they joined forces. That's it, basically.
And you did all the research and you went back and shot there. I noticed in your credits
Absolutely,
that you
absolutely.
the people of the
No,
locality.
the important thing to note is nobody can shoot there. They want to trust you. And then things happen. And if you ever bring in the police for to sort of control crowds, you will never be able to shoot. That's it. They don't trust. And therefore, after having spent so much time with them, 6 months, 8 months, I think, altogether, they said, this guy's not too bad. And they left the team. And another classic story was, you have a so-called empty street with a camera. Imagine, how can you shoot an empty street in a crowded place? How's it allowed? So you have a shot of an empty street in front of you, and behind the camera, there are 5,000 people standing.
Yes.
Behind the camera.
Basically crowd control in a film, and I don't know what the size of your crew was. What was your crew size?
I think it was around 30 people on the streets total.
So 30 crew, and then everybody was backed up behind.
Absolutely.
Also I don't know, I guess you're watching the film again at the moment in Kerala and also been watching your films again.
No, I'm doing it tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
I'm doing it tomorrow.
What do you keep with, I'm curious what remains with you on this film. Like from this film, years later, what stays with you? Can you never change? Does that mean you can never change? Because he doesn't get into the light finally.
Yeah, but he tried. The point is, it's a dead-end street. And also, it's a film that starts in first person, ends up in third person. How did it happen? It's a structure of a film in a certain kind of way. And besides that, the title itself reveals an idea. Salim, Langde pe mat ro. There's something tragic that's going to happen. But don't cry for Salim. So you are sitting as an audience and you are a voyeur, actually, in his death.
Yes.
That's the idea. Voyeurs. In a socio-political environment, we are all voyeurs, aren't we?
Totally. So
That's it.
I'll open it up to the audience if they would like to ask questions.
Absolutely.
Although, if anyone is a voyeur here.
Silence.
Oh, there is the gentleman with the primary color orange shirt, I think.
Oh my God. Do I just speak it out loud or do we get it?
Shall I give you how do we do the mic with you? Okay. You can fly over. I really enjoyed watching it again, I have to say, after these years.
Thanks for a wonderful film. My question is more about the response from the audience. Uh, what was the response like at the time that the film was released, and how do you think it would differ if it was released right now? Because we've talked a lot about the relevance of the film, and perhaps that audience response and change, if any, would be quite telling.
At that particular point of time, we didn't get a major release because there are a lot of blockbusters which took up time for the big theaters. But we had a very small release. But there was a major theater in the area at Leamington Road, a 1,300 seater, and we got it for a week because there was some big film that was that had just left, and another big film was about to arrive. We got the theater for a week, and they had 4 shows a day in that 1,300 seater. Every single show was house full. Tickets were being sold in the black. It was in the area where I shot. And the entire, I don't know who, they all came to see the film. But the point is, something very important. Almost 1/3 of my budget was recovered. One theater. It says a lot. If people get an opportunity to come to see it, they will come to see it. But it has to be a theater next to them. And that is, to me, a criteria. It's an idea, son. It's an idea that people want to see work of another kind, but how the hell do they see it? At that time, today, of course, you have online and all the other platforms. But at that time, there were no such platforms. So how do people get to see films that they want to see? A kind of alternative kind of cinema, when it's not available to them. But giving the example of this one theater, it's 1 week, 4 shows a day, 1,300 seater, house full right through, and tickets being sold in black. It gives you an idea of the, people do want to see stuff which is serious, which affects their lives. I believe that. I stand by it. I don't necessarily mean that it can ever become a great blockbuster. But the point is, people do want to see serious work. And there are a lot of serious people in the country anyway. They are. So if we can tap that as a source, our film will work. Or about today. Today I wouldn't be allowed to make the film. As simple as that.
Especially because it's an NFDC film. So I think today it will be very, very difficult. Right, Saeed?
And not just...
It's a National Film Development Corporation film. So I feel that it would also be difficult for them to let it go through the committee, but he will tell us.
Actually, I had the same question of how did it actually happen that when there were riots happening and there's an FDC who's...
Recording in progress.
At the film festival I am at.
That's what I was interested in as well, because it's...
Yeah. With letting it...
I decide back on, not to reshape it if
you can hear him. I think you can ask your question.
I can hear it.
Yeah, it's just that you mentioned that India was going through a lot of riots and there was the Rath Yatra happening, and in all of that there's an FDC who's producing the film, and we relevance. I was just curious about how did that go and how NFDC was on board with the film. And the second question being, there's this very very classic shot where there's a track shot of the three walking, and in the back there are wall paintings of the different gods that goes by. And recently there was a film that came out of a Marathi film. I was just curious if you had seen it, where it's called Atma Pamphlet, where they've talked about caste and religion through the kids' point of views, and they've recreated the same scene, the same trekking shot, where the kids walking and talking, and with the gods at the back. I just wanted to know if you watched it.
No, there was a time in the city of Mumbai, Bombay then, and when he specifically went through sidewalks and street shots to avoid the municipality in their wisdom to avoid people from urinating on the walls. They should put up these posters, etc., of gods, goddesses of all the religions, so that it becomes to avoid the stench. That's a classic case, of how do you, without not having enough public toilets and bathrooms, how do you keep the city clean? So this is one method which is used. And I had these three guys walk past it. It was there. I had them walk past it, and they're talking about a world screwed up. If you hear the conversation, there's a world screwed up. Somebody, Salim's interior monologue starts over there. And he says something, but he said, "Boss, there's a lot of problems in this world, and somebody has to take charge of what is happening." It's on that walk.
About NFDC. Could you ask him about NFDC?
I was asking about NFDC.
Yes.
I was curious because NFDC funded the film. It
Yes.
was also very interesting to know what the budget of the film was at that time.
Yeah, because NFDC at that is, you must remember, we did have moments of censorship. There were, of course there were. But by and large, it was far more liberal at that time. And also, the person who got hit pretty badly in most of his work was a person like Anand Patwardhan. His cinema he took a toll on him, his work. But by and large, we were given largely a free hand. Most of us were given a free hand. And talking about the budget of Albert Pinto, I think it was around 12 lakhs of rupees. An entire budget of a film, 12 or 14 lakhs, I'm not so sure. But that's it. And you make a film. The point is, you make a film because you want to make a film. That's it. No matter what money they give you, you make it happen. Therefore, friends, acquaintances, not paying location charges, not because you can't afford it, trusting people and they let you shoot in their homes. Imagine trying to shoot on a street in Mumbai. Today, the cost, from what I gather, is 12 lakhs a night.
Yeah, prohibitive. If you can manage as well.
If you can manage, right?
Yeah, the crowd control is
massive. We shot without any permission. We just shot. No permissions. Because we had to. We had no choice. We were a guerrilla unit, you have to understand. The cinema is also a guerrilla enterprise.
Actually, a lot has changed, because at that time, people were still curious. I mean, they were still interested. It was like,
Absolutely.
there wasn't this kind of over media influx of everything. So I think much easier to shoot at that time as well.
Absolutely. And we had street smart crew members, very sharp guys. Like, for instance, supposing a policeman did come up to you wondering what is happening on the street, the production manager would go up to him, "Sir, please move aside." So there's a shot being taken. And he asked the policeman to move aside. The policeman probably think that we must be having permission, because how can we ask him to move aside, But it's street smart behavior.
So did you cast quite a lot within the community? I mean, in the crowd scenes, or if at all? I mean, how much of it was actual actors, and how much were your casting directors?
Most of the main characters were actual. They were actors. Most of them were actors. But beyond that,
That's what.
Beyond that, a lot of them were actual locals.
What I meant was like in the crowd scenes, was not, how many were actually people that you cast within the community?
No, with locals, they were right through, right through. But the performing roles were actors, and rest were real locals.
Yes, I mean, of course, the main actors. And on closing, at least from my side, can you tell us a little bit about the two love stories? Or the two love stories, or the stories that none that we saw them like sort of evolving. And how did you think about those two? What can you tell us about the two love stories?
Salim and Mumtaz.
And the journalist and the sister.
It was a real event that occurred over there. An Urdu journalist was starred, his face was starred, because he actually said what the journalist said in the film. The local community got around and it was horrific. And then, of course, they apologized, but the point is, a man stood up and said things about a community and he got hell for it. And so I brought that into the film. And not just that, he is a journalist and he is an MA in Urdu. Now, Urdu also now has a historic, is in historic decline across the country. So there's a lot of history behind it simultaneously, about a past, about a civilization and a language, and in which bolega to becomes incredibly important as to aapka matlab kya hai. But bolega becomes the idiom. And he is confronting this young man with the street language, with a language which is his inheritance, which he's lost touch with, he's absolutely out of touch with. And these are tragedies of time and spaces and histories, these are all, to me, the end is when Salim is knifed as he was dancing and he's stabbed. There's a song written by Kaifi Saab which says, "Ek jeevan tha kuch sapne the, so muft mein qurban kar dale." जिसने कहा सब घर बदलें, this is about the partition. जिसने कहा सब घर बदलें, उसने ये देखा भी नहीं कौन कहां थक कर बैठा, किसने कहां बिस्तर डाले. That's partition and the whole tragedies of partition. This young hoodlum doesn't know in the streets of Mumbai, he's paying the price of history simultaneously. There are historic links to ghettoization, to violence, to slaughter. It's a historicity to it, in which this young man doesn't even realize. Where does it come from? These are, and I think the beauty of it all was to reassure perhaps the young Salim's sister, that it doesn't matter, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. You'll be fine. And it's an act of courage, it's an act of defiance, it's an act of I don't know what, faith. That's it, basically.
In fact, she was always sure she'd be okay. He was the one who had to turn, Salim had to move over.
Right. That's true.
I mean, the family actually was sure that that and he was obviously, they reminded him obviously of the son that they lost.
Right. And the famous scene when he's making tea for Salim, when he talks about his brother. He talks about Salim's brother. And it's a scene where you have this tea boiling, and he's talking about his brother he says, Faulad ka tha wo. He didn't take the easy way out. It's so easy to turn towards the underworld when you're in a desperate situation. But that man was made of steel. He didn't succumb. He did something beyond that. And if you notice the background score at that particular point, there's music coming at the back, it's Nusrat Fateh Ali.
Yes, right.
At the back, it's
yes.
So I'm mixing up things with all kinds of anyway.
Yeah, Nusrat Fateh Ali to Ek Do Ti. I mean, the soundtrack is great.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to ask any more questions? Any other questions?
What does the audience respond by and large to the film?
Audience, you're being asked a question. What is your response to the film? I think the audience is mulling everything in their mind. But thank you so much, Saeed, and thank you to Film Festival.
Thank you all for coming to the film, and thank you for this conversation. Take care. God bless. Let there be peace, happiness, and love across the land.
Well, thank you very, very much. Thanks, Saeed, and thanks, Aradhana. And really to understand through this conversation the complexities of putting together a film like this, as you were describing, just the kind of visualization of something as powerful as this, and to tell such a story. With everything from the choices of color to the building of characters, to where the city plays such an important role of that neighborhood. And
And it's really nice. There are lots of places like the cafe. There are lots of recognizable places as well.
Yeah,
it's wonderful because there are lots of recognizable places, and you feel now that you talked about the monsoon streets, the light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's just a beautiful film, and for us, for the to close with it for the Nagari Film Festival, I think is I'm very happy we made that choice, and Saeed, that you could join us even just remotely. But I think if you saw the visuals, and I'll send you these images of you larger than life on the screen, hovering over the auditorium. So I'll send you that, and I think it's a wonderful end, and thank you, Aradhana, for the conversation to this festival. But we really sort of celebrate with the filmmakers, the mentors, and the audience who came together to reflect on this evolving landscape of urban India. And over these last 3 days, I think the films have illuminated the textures of our cities, their contradictions, the aspirations, vulnerabilities. and the quiet acts of resilience. And I think that's really important, you know, from the public realm to questions of identity, of mobility, urban form. Each work expanded on how we see and understand the spaces we inhabit. So thank you, you know, the audience also for your curiosity, your engagement, and your sort of just participating, you know, with us in this. We sort of look forward to continuing this journey with you over the years. In ending, I just would like to thank everyone who helped put this film festival together, the Martinez Theatre and the ESG for hosting us, and Serendipity for allowing us to be part of the art festival, Tata Trusts for their generous support, the panel of advisors we constituted for the festival, as Beena Paul, Sanjeev Shah, and Sachin Chate, the filmmakers and panelists who have come here and contributed immensely to this festival, and finally to the CCF fellows and the staff who have put in tireless work in an effort into making these 3 days happen. Tanvi, Ashmita, Natty, and then the 5 fellows, Dainty, Amrita, Anvesha, Gabrielle, and Ankrita. So thank you very, very much for all of the work that came together. Really appreciate it. Thank you.